All right, we're going to get started this evening. Sorry to cut y'all off. It's always a blessing. It's always a blessing to get to come teach. I hope it's as good for y'all as it is me. And I really enjoy doing this mostly because it requires something more of me. Anytime you communicate something in front of a large amount of people and you're talking about things that are important or about standards or about your direction in life, it's always convicting because I'm always reflecting about how I live on a weekly basis. And so I'll get very convicted as I'm in the middle of doing this class series because guess what? I mess up. And I'm sure that y'all can relate too, but it's especially convicting for me because I proclaim something to you and then I don't follow what I proclaim, and it's like, I can't be doing that, right? And I'm not gonna lie, it gets a little easier when I'm not teaching in some sort of way to get a little more lackadaisical, because if I'm telling y'all what I believe and what I think is right, when I don't follow in those ways, it eats at me more, which is probably a good thing. It's probably why we as a community, as a body of Christ, need to be communicating this stuff not only on Wednesday night or not only on Sunday night or not only in this building, but we need to be communicating this to the broader world. A lot of us, I think, potentially are a little bit hesitant to communicate what we communicate in this building because we're afraid of being called what? Right? A hypocrite. There's tremendous value in what we talk about here, and that value is not bordered by the walls of this building. If you go out and proclaim the right thing, well, it kind of holds you to a higher standard everywhere. And you're going to mess up. It won't change how much you mess up, but it does hold you to this accountability. I enjoy teaching because it does do that. When I say something here but then get frustrated at work, well, it's a quicker reminder. So I think that's valuable because how I got to what we're going to spend the next few Wednesdays on was just me saying, Lord, I don't really know what I'm going to talk about. Gary asked me what we're going to talk about. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I'm really needing some direction. And so I'm sitting there asking what I want to communicate to y'all, what I want to spend time in, and I just heard Ecclesiastes. And I was like, okay. So I called my wife. She left today, and I said, I think I'm going to talk about Ecclesiastes. She's like, funny you said that. I've been praying for you for a while, and I thought about Ecclesiastes too. So I guess we're going to talk about Ecclesiastes for a little bit. And I'm in a stage of life where it's all about the drive. It's all about the grind. It's all about going out and working hard, right? Putting the hours in, being respected, forming a career, trying to accumulate knowledge and skills that are valuable in the world so that I can go out and I can make a difference to the people around me. And I'm not going to lie, I get a little bit consumed in that, right? I wake up early. I'm an early riser, and I stay late, and I'm driven. But man, sometimes sometimes I need to be reminded of what Ecclesiastes says. And I don't think that I'm alone in that. And as I sat and read my Bible, and I opened up Ecclesiastes, I was reminded what Ecclesiastes talks about, which is a little bit humbling for me. So we're going to start off in verse 1. This is meant to be a discussion. I don't want to dominate the time necessarily. If you have a thought, I'd love you to raise your hand as we work through this. I know that these words are meant for me, and I hope that I can walk through them with you, and y'all can see and hear from that perspective. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun goes down and hastens to the place where it rises. The wind blows to the south and goes around to the north. Around and around goes the wind, and on its circuits the wind returns. All streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. To the place where the streams flow, there they flow again. All things are full of weariness. A man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be. And what has been done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing of which it said, "See, this is new"? It has already been. In the ages before us, there is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of latter things yet to come among those who come after. Now, I've been told that my classes are a little bit too harsh or convicting by some. I'm just kidding. Y'all can laugh at that. But it's a little bit depressing, isn't it? Right? But guess who needs to hear those words? I do. I do. Because I pursue. I'm a pursuer. Right? I know what I want, and I'm going to do what it takes to get it. Why those words resonated with me is, and why they resonate with me now is because I am great at pursuing. I'm great at trying. I'm great at putting effort in toward a goal, right? But oftentimes I forget the place that whatever I'm pursuing holds in my life. And I don't know if y'all do that also. Because right now, like I expressed to you earlier, I'm spending a lot of hours. I'm waking up early. I'm working 11, 12-hour days, right? And that's great. I'm made to work hard. But I got to remember what I'm doing it for. And I also simultaneously need to acknowledge that the value of the thing that I'm pursuing is a vapor. You see, the vanity is translated from the word hevel. Now, hevel means vapor. Some of your translations probably say meaningless. Meaningless. Everything's meaningless. Some of y'all know Landon Camp. He grew up at this church, and that was his favorite passage of Scripture to quote when we were growing up at Camp Blue Haven together. Just because I think he really likes to just say stuff that's contradictive to what you think about reality, just for fun to mess you up. That's who Landon was, but it's a little bit of a paradigm shift to think about all the things that we pursue. And what I am pursuing right now might be different from what you're pursuing, right? Right now, I'm pursuing a career. I just left, we're trying to build a house. That comes with its own hang-ups. Some of y'all can probably attest to that, right? Yeah, I'm getting some nods, right? Some of y'all have had that experience before. Some of y'all are pursuing career like I am. Some of y'all, a lot of y'all have families and you're in different stages of that, right? You have children that you're raising up, or you have grandkids that you're helping with and helping guide and lead. And we have things in our life that are that we strive after, right? Some of us have hobbies or things that we participate in on a weekly basis, and those things are well, I'm quick to say like awesome, which it is, but we also have to remember it's hevel. It's something that appears real, but when you go like this, it fades away, right? Have you ever seen? We just got through the 4th of July. You know those little firecrackers that you can light up, and it's a smoke bomb, right? That's exactly what it's meaning by vapor and vanity. It's something that when you look at it, it looks real. You're watching that little smoke bomb fizzle, and what's producing from it looks something like you can touch it or you can grab it. But then when you reach your arm out to do it, as all of the kids and probably some of the adults here do on 4th of July, you just can't get it, right? Does anybody want what they have? I mean, it's kind of a self-contradictory statement, right? You never want what you have. I want the next thing. I want the next thing. I want the next thing. Well, when I was single, what did I want? I wanted to get married. Well, when I was unemployed, working at a coffee shop, right, what do I want? I want a career. Well, now I'm married and now I got a decent job, but now I want to level up. Well, now I'm married, I have a decent job, but I really want to have a kid. And whatever that means for you, I think we should pay attention to this. Because I don't know what exactly is in your specific situation, but I can tell you that if this book was written for a purpose, it was written for you to put your life in perspective. It's easy to read Ecclesiastes and to have the mindset and the picture that, well, if it's all meaningless, oh well, right? I don't think that's what it's saying. I think it's live your life in a perspective that acknowledges how much what we pursue on a daily basis, we're grasping at things that we can't have and that can so easily be taken away. It really makes you question what's yours in life. That's what it does for me, at least. It's a funny thing and it's personal, but she might be listening right now. I never really thought twice about traveling. As a single man, I'd just go. You can ask anybody that knows me, I'd go anywhere, right? I'm always down for an 8-hour road trip, right? Now it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. I'm not going to lie. I've never prayed for someone more than my wife when she goes on the road. Oh, talk about like a different perspective. And some of y'all that have had kids, you understand that too. Some of y'all are having kids that are just learning or just have learned how to drive and they're going off to college. Man, that's tough, isn't it? It's tough. Because you put so much of who you are in that person, right? You care so much. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But we have to recognize. When you recognize hevel, then you can start being grateful. Because everything you have, everything you inherit, everything that you think you own and you have a right to, you don't. You don't. I don't. Everything. 1 minute we have and the next it gets taken away. I could have a great job today and tomorrow be let go. Maybe for no fault of my own. That's life. Hevel. Hevel. Everything's hevel. But I do believe that if you acknowledge, because you're constantly, there's this idea in me, and I see it in myself where, why do I work so hard, right? It's because I want to have. I want to earn. I want to work hard because I want to have a ranch in Texas one day, right? That's the dream, right? I want to be out of debt one day. That's the dream, right? I want to have a career where I'm always regarded and respected highly. That's the dream, right? I easily get into this mentality of I'm going to do what I'm going to do because I'm going to earn what I get. You know, I just don't think that that's what God's calling us to. What we have has been given by grace and grace alone. And I think when you recognize hevel, and then you look around at your life and you see the beautiful people that inhabit your existence, that God's blessed you with. And then you look at your career and you see the value that it's added and the place that it's given you and the meaning that it's given you in your life, then you can be grateful. And then when your kids are going off to college, you can mourn, but you can also look forward to the difference maker that you helped build in the home. And you realize the meaning and the significance of that process. And with grandkids, well, I just think y'all have fun. Like, honestly. Which you earned it. Right? I don't know. I'm so far from being there, I can't really speak to it. But I know my mom and dad, they just had their first grandkids the last couple years. And granted, it comes with the fair share of bustings, which isn't fun either. But, man, they have fun too. I think when you simultaneously understand the wisdom that I think is being conveyed to us in this passage, when you simultaneously understand that we have a lot in our life and it's all a vapor and it all can be taken away, and when you truly get that and you look around and you see all the stuff that you have in your life, you're just so much abundantly more thankful. And that's when I read this, that's the reminder that's where it brings me back to. So before we go on any further, do we have any thoughts? Caleb almost raised his hand. He didn't mean to, but I'm just kidding. Yes, sir.
Build up your treasures in heaven, because when they put you in the box, none of that stuff you did here is going in there with you.
Yeah. Build up your treasures in heaven, because when they put you in the box, you're not getting it anyway. Yeah. That's a good reminder. Anybody else? I like that. You know, again, this class is for me. I have to remember that, because personally speaking, like I said, I'm a diligent, dutiful, conscientious person. You'd probably like me some days if I worked for you, and you'd probably hate me other days if I worked for you, right? I'm too quick to busy myself with tasks. I'm a big task person, and I disregard people too frequently, right? And I have to remember that, because I have a couple guys that work underneath me. They're not believers right now, but I'm really praying for them, and I'm really trying to pour into them on a daily basis. And man, you know, I have to remember that I represent Christ, and I don't just represent 7B Building and Development. I have to be careful, personally speaking, I have to be careful that I'm intentionally I have to personally, intentionally take time to stop working to value them, right? When they come in and they're kind of bent out of sorts or stressed or frustrated, it's my responsibility as a disciple of Christ to step in and to listen to them, right? It's my responsibility as a disciple of Christ to be someone and a living representation of God to them in their space. I quickly forget the aim and the vision that God has set before me by pursuing Hevel. Because I got to remember that I'm not taking all the money and all the stuff with me. I'm not taking my house. I'm not taking my physical inheritance. I'm not taking any savings. But I am present with a bunch of people that are living in eternity. And I got to remember that. Go ahead, Doug.
Interesting that word vapor is used and relates it to being meaningless, because it's the things that he's talking about to us are tangible. We can touch them and see them and perform them. Yet what's most important is Jesus said in Mark 8 is, we don't want to try to achieve the world and lose our soul. The spirit world to me feels like a vapor. It's something I can't see, I can't touch, can't feel it, right? And so that's an interesting contrast, that the things that are meaningless are the things that are right here in front of us that can attract and distract and pull us away from what's most important, which is the spiritual world and our spiritual health, and those are things that we don't necessarily see and can touch and feel. So.
Yeah, I like that point. His point was that it's an interesting paradox, because when you look at what this, like, we think of spiritual things as vapors that we can't grasp or get a hold of, right? But then when you look from an eternal perspective, those are the things that are actually lasting, and all of this physical stuff that we cling to so tightly is the thing that we're told is going to pass away. That's a great point. And I do think it's, when you say that, I immediately think, how much my boss or the people that I'm responsible for leading at work, do you know how much they remember me doing a task right that they'll never see again? You know how much they remember that? They don't care, right? They really don't care. But when I bring them into my office because I know they're having a hard time, whether it's family or work or whatever, and I bring them in and I say, hey, I see where you're at. I need you to talk to me. What's going on? Man, we think these spiritual things that Jesus is calling us to fix our perspective of are this spiritual wispy thing. But each and every one of you right now can think of someone that impacted your life right now. You can think of someone that spoke truth or life into you right now, and I guarantee you can picture that event happening. It's almost like it's more real. Because I work really hard on crunching numbers all day, and I'm decently good at remembering them, but they don't make that impact on me. My dad calling me and checking in on me, that makes an impact on me. Me calling my dad makes even more of an impact on him because he loves me and I don't do that enough, right? These things that are important in our lives, and these things that later we're going to get into Ecclesiastes more, but these things that a few times in the book it says to watch this, do this. Those are real. Those are real. But I think that that's an interesting paradox that we really need to think about. Absolutely. We're going to read a little bit more, unless Eric has something. Okay.
So, over 20 years ago, I lost my brother. He was 22 years old. And it was tragic. It was sudden, not expected. And the thing that I kept saying is, it was this, it was almost like the rug was pulled out from underneath him, you know? But really what it was reality. And the reality is that I said bye to him in December, and I was going to see him again. And because that's what happens. The sun rises and the sun falls. You say bye to somebody, you see them again. And the reality is you're not guaranteed that. You know, I used the term, my innocence was taken. Well, it wasn't my innocence. It was my ignorance was taken away from me. And I liked my ignorance. I liked not knowing. And that's exactly what he's talking about here is you're ignorant if you're chasing these things. And you put away these things, it's ignorant. Because here's reality. It all goes away. And the last time I saw my brother, if I knew reality, it would have been a different occasion. And then the other part about losing him is I still got married, I still had kids. My oldest son's named after him, and life goes on. He was not the center of the universe, and neither am I. So, yes, it is all paper.
It is. And that's the hard part, right? Like, you know how fun it is to hear that? Like, I know there are so, I would argue 95% of the people in this room have been through way more tragedy than I have. I'm speaking to an audience that I can't compete. I mean, I haven't had a perfect life, but, you know, I'm not coming at this like I'm an expert. I'm coming at this like I'm just kind of figuring this thing out because I don't really know. All I know is that, I mean, it says it's Hevel. And smarter people than me have acknowledged it and testified it that that's the case, right? I don't think it's calling us to stay there, though, and I think that we're going to get into it, and I probably just need to let the words speak for themselves. So we're going to read a little bit more. It might take us a while to get to where I want to start talking about because I'm quick to try and recover and speak of happy things. But in verse 12, I, the preacher, have been king over Israel in Jerusalem. And I applied my heart to seek and search out by wisdom, all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. I have seen everything that is done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me, and my heart has had great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is but a striving after wind. For in much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Okay, we're not to the happy part yet, but you got to stick with me. I had I had a preacher friend in Smithwick, Texas, which some of y'all might know where that is. But I guarantee 99.9% of people don't, because there's only one person I know in here that has even heard of Smithwick, Texas. It's in between Lago Vista and Marble Falls. Man named Linville Baker was one of the preacher out there. He asked me to come help him because he wanted to retire. He wanted to retire, live his dream, going to Cross Plains, and he and his wife were going to build kind of a retreat for people to get away from life and to encounter the Lord. And it's funny because I walked into Linville Baker's office for the first time, and Smithwick, Texas, like, it's not even, it's like there's a church right there, and I'm not kidding, it's on 1431, and there is nothing there, like nothing there. And there's not even houses, there's not a stop sign, there's not a stoplight. You blink, you miss it, it's gone. That's Smithwick, Texas. And I walk into Smithwick, Texas, Church of Christ, because this guy called the preacher of the church I was attending at the time and said, hey, I'm needing someone to pick up for me and fill in a little bit. You know anybody? I guess I was on the list. So I go out there and meet Linville Baker, and I walk into this small country town church, and I look around his office like, oh, this guy's got some books, man. I mean, I'm talking floor to ceiling, and he knew them all. I called my dad after I met him. I was like, I don't know where they found that guy, but it wasn't Smithwick, Texas. Like, it was crazy. You know, and Linville had a brother named Loris. Now, if you want to talk about two opposite sides of the same coin, you'd meet Loris Baker. And this was the verse that Loris always reminded Linville of. Well, preacher, you can't, all that wisdom, vexation, because Loris doesn't want to read any books. That's what that means. And that's about how he talks, too. He was they were both great men that loved the Lord. Every time I read that, I think of them, because that is a reality. The more knowledge you have, which is something I want, right? I idolize someone that sits in a small country town church and just absorbs centuries worth of knowledge. I mean, you want to talk about from Dostoevsky to Nietzsche to Kierkegaard. He knew them. I don't even know how to spell half those names. But man, there's a weight of knowledge that comes with it. It's a reality. And Linville was a very great person, you know. And I think it's worth saying, especially in this class, he passed away very unexpectedly. He had just bought this property in Cross Plains, Texas. He and his wife had a dream of what they were going to make out there. And then it's Hevel. It's Hevel. Now, I will say, that was one of the best funerals I've ever been to in my life. Because that little man, he's a big man. He was a jolly man. That jolly man from Smithwick, Texas, man, you want to talk about filling up thousands of people coming to that church for his funeral. There's Hevel, and there's a life that's been lived in the Lord, that's grasped the things that are actually real. His life, his physical existence, it wasn't the most real thing about Linville Baker. What was real about Linville Baker is the thousands of people that did exactly what I talked about earlier, which is he made a difference in everybody's life that he talked to. That's a real thing. That's even more real than all of the things that I pursue, that I too frequently pursue. I'm reminded of Linville Baker in that. Knowledge is a burden. You can look back at the fall, right? The knowledge of good and evil that's plagued us for centuries, thousands and thousands of years, it's knowledge. And when you accrue knowledge, guess what you're accruing sometimes? It's the knowledge of good and evil. You know what's good and you know what's bad. Now, I'm not saying that that's not valuable. We're called to discernment, right? To know the difference, to discern the difference in Hebrews between good and evil. But guess what? Sometimes it pays to lift your eyes and to see what's around us. That's a valuable thing too. Lift my eyes up from my work and be reminded of the coworkers that really need Jesus, really need to change the way they're living because it's killing them. Anyway. All right, we're going to keep going. I said in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure. Enjoy yourself. But behold, this also is vanity. I said, laughter, it is mad, and of pleasure, what use is it? I searched with my heart how to cheer my body with wine, my heart still guiding me with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. I made great works. I built houses. I can relate, at least trying. Planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks, planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had slaves who were born in my house. I also had great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who had been before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold and treasure of kings and provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and many concubines, the delight of the sons of man. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. And whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was my reward for all my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done and the toil that I had expended in doing it, and behold, all was vanity and striving after wind. And there was nothing to be gained under the sun. Man, that's got to convict. Start calling on people, right? What would you do? Buy a plane. All right, buy a plane. What do we got? You did this. Corvette. I can relate to that. What year?
I got to get that far.
Okay, you got to get that far. That's fine. That's fine. Anybody else? What else?
I think I do a church building.
A church building. That would help. That'd be helpful. Right? Would it have vineyards and gardens? What are you thinking?
Just a lot of parking.
A lot of parking. I like that. There's a good man in this room. And it's not me. It's not me. What else? What else we got? Won the lottery. I see some people doing this, right? Who said it? You'd have to buy a ticket. Well, I might buy you a ticket later. We'll see if you're lucky. I don't know. That might get me in trouble, but I don't know. For me, I can relate to this. I can relate to this a little bit, right? When I think, and granted, I'm not the Killough brother that would win the lottery. That's my brother, right? I'm not like necessarily the lucky one. I got my wife, and that's A-okay with me, right? That is as lucky as I can hope to be, right? I think that's the best way to say that. But man, the ranch, right? I want a 10,000 acre ranch with elk and ponds, and I'm going to fish all day. I'm going to hunt, even when the game warden says it's not appropriate, because it's my land. That's Kyle Killough's dream, okay? And I think it's funny because that question, right? If you won the lottery, what would you do with it? I don't think you can live your life and not be asked that question at some point. I don't know. I ask people all the time, right? I want to know. I want to know who I'm talking to. And, you know, it's funny to see also the people that win the lottery. There's a lot of statistics that show that when you win the lottery, you've got like a few years and then you're dead broke and miserable. Oh man, not me though. Because I'd buy a 10,000 acre ranch, right? It's just a good reminder. Because half of me doesn't even want to believe that because that's the dream. What he just described is the dream. I've got to remember, what am I aiming at? Am I aiming at the hevel? Or am I aiming at the things that God actually talks about as eternal? I don't know. I might have second thoughts about the ranch, you know? Even though I don't really want to. Because it's just interesting because you can read this and part of me doesn't even want to believe that, man, if I got what I picture would just be the most incredible life, I'd probably still complain because I got to lay fence and I got to dig water lines. I'm becoming an expert at that though. So, because at the end of the day, it's all hevel. And that's what a lot of people that win the lottery experience. Man, that money was a lot less real than they thought. And the happiness that it brought and the relationships that it was revealed were not really super substantial. They realized how real that was. See, there's things real that aren't real, right? But we put so much stock into things that have been created that we tend to worship. Anybody worship money in here? Or am I the only one? Anybody worship their career in here? Or am I the only one? Anybody worship their house in here? Or am I the only one? Anybody worship their family in here? Or am I the only one? Man, when it's all hevel, you can start being grateful. And I think you could probably also start, and I need to hear this, I could probably start recognizing how much I get frustrated and I shouldn't. Because why are you frustrated about hevel? When I get anxious and I shouldn't? Because why are you worried about hevel? When I get irritated or whatever the emotion may be, or whatever the sinful desire or tendency might be, oh man, if I would just realize it was just hevel, then I would stop. Because it's hevel. This thing I'm chasing after is not real. And if I looked around and saw that my relationship with y'all, with the people at work, with my wife, with my family, if I realized that that was the real thing, my life would reflect more of what's called the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven is what we're invited into. And that's a kingdom of real things. And I'm still trying to understand what it looks like. Y'all have a great week, and I hope you see a little bit more of the kingdom of heaven this next week. So thank y'all very much.